Today we're doing a smart repair on a Volkswagen Jetta. The lady that owns this car says that her car was attacked by a shopping cart, and I believe her because looking at this damage, it's pretty significant. First step in the process is to clean the bumper. I follow this up with glass cleaner. Next, I grab my Matco Tools 3-inch DA with a 180 grit sandpaper and begin to sand the areas where we have damage. This is basically to level off any of the damage. It should look something like this. Some areas were just too deep, so we had to follow it up with some Pro Glaze. So here I'm mixing up some Pro Glaze and applying it to the areas where we still have some damage. Once that's fully dry, we begin sanding. I usually begin with a machine sand and then follow it up with some hand sanding. Let's go ahead and clean up the remnants and see what we've got. I'm feeling it by hand just to make sure we don't have high spots. Next, we're gonna mask. I like to use the USC Handy Mask. It makes it really quick to mask up our area because we're getting ready for primer at this point. On the bare plastic areas, you do want to use some adhesion promoter. And here we're actually going to be using some 2K Rapid Primer Filler. This stuff dries really quickly. It is a 2K product, so it does have a hardener on the bottom of the bottle that you have to pop in order for the hardener to mix in with the primer. And I'm going to go ahead and shoot 3 coats with this. Once that's dry, we'll go ahead and pull off our masking paper and we begin to sand the primer. Now you can tell that we do have some hard lines, and that's all right. We're going to go ahead and sand those hard lines just to get them smooth so it doesn't show up in our finished product. Next, I follow it up with some 400 grit sandpaper and then 600 grit sandpaper and then 1000 grit sandpaper on our blending areas. The spray gun I'm going to be using is the Ego Carbonio 190 in the Motivated Painters Edition. This is a new gun for me, so I'm pretty excited to use it. So let's see how this does. But before we get into the painting, let's go ahead and mask up the area where we don't want paint to land on. So we're covering up the headlights, the hood, fender, and other areas, and then covering up part of the bumper where we don't want paint on. The Ego Carbonio also came with a Motivated Painters Welcome blower, and I'm going to blow out any remaining water. And as you guys can see, there's plenty of water in this vent, but we need to get it out because if we start painting and that water comes out, well, it could ruin the paint job. So let's go ahead and make sure this thing is dry. Next, we're going to cover it up with plastic and cut out the plastic in the area where we want to paint. Take this up for a second time, and I'm also going to be using a little bit of masking paper in our blending areas to be able to blend and get a nice little blend area there. The point of folding over that paper is to make sure you don't have a hard line in your blending area, so that way we can actually buff it later on. Usually I give the buffing stage about 3 days to fully cure, and because it's been so hot, I'm sure probably 1 day would probably do it. So as you guys can see, I have that paper folded there. Next, we're going to be mixing up some paint. This is a Matrix Performance paint. It is LO41 is the color code. It's also a Porsche Black. This paint mixes 1-to-1, so we're just going to mix that up real quick, put in our reducer, and get to spraying our base coat. I spray 2 coats of base, then I follow it up with clear. I ended up doing 2 coats of clear on this one. And then on our blending areas, I went ahead and used Spot Blender to blend in our areas. And this is what it's looking like. It actually looks really good. I'm very happy with it. And yeah, you can't even see any damage. It's pretty much a flawless finish, other than a little bit of orange peel, but hey, not too bad for a guy painting out of his garage, right? The blending areas do look a little dull, and we will follow that up in a few days with a cut and buff, but overall I think it came out excellent, and I'm pretty sure this customer is going to be happy. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoy. Stay spraying. Catch you guys on the next one. Peace.